My name is Caitlin Regal, and I'm an assistant professor at Damon University in Buffalo, New York. Today, I want to talk about AI-powered innovations in educator preparation programs, and specifically the things that we wish we could do to help better prepare our teacher candidates and how we can reach those goals with the use of AI. So if you're a teacher educator right now, I want you to close your eyes and I just want you to think of things that you wish you could do to better prepare teacher candidates. As we move forward through this presentation, I'll present the wishes, but first I want to present the utility and the potential of AI. So teacher preparation programs right now are going through a lot of change and they're navigating a really complex landscape. So first, certainly the K-12 educational landscape, the Department of Education, nationally, we're going through a lot of change related to education. Certainly higher education is navigating its own trials and tribulations. But there's also quite a demand for innovation at this time, and even executive orders calling for the use and the training related to AI. The quote that you see on your screen, I'm going to read for you. The integration of AI in education has the potential to transform the way teachers are trained and to enhance the quality of teacher education. We're going to focus today on the quality of teacher education and how to enhance that with the use of AI. These specific technologies offer us, teacher educators, opportunities to support teacher candidates in their learning, certainly. There is a lot to be said by integrating AI into teacher preparation, one, for preparing our teacher candidates to use AI appropriately and ethically in the field, but it can also equip future educators with skills and resources that they need to address the diverse needs of their students and really respond to the changing landscape. So we're going to present 8 wishes for teacher candidates. Now, this kind of started anecdotally. So conversations surrounding, if you could do anything, what do you really wish you could do to better prepare teacher candidates? And then those anecdotal conversations started to form into a specific question. What do you wish you could do to better prepare teacher candidates? We coded those and put them together into things that we either could do with AI or would like to do specifically with AI to provide 8 tangible and practical things that we are implementing or would like to implement. Now, certainly the wish for an AI-powered solution also comes with some caveats that we'll cover at the end in terms of ethically preparing individuals to be able to use these kind of technologies. But let's start with the first wish. So wish number 1, practicing with parents. The wish is, I wish my teacher candidates could engage in real conversations with parents to build confidence and communication skills. Now, parents here really relate to any guardians or adults that teachers are going to have communication with regarding the students within their classroom. So the wish is, how do we prepare teacher candidates for these conversations, specifically when they may not have the opportunities in field placements to have these kind of conversations? And if they do have a conversation, it might not be the type of conversation that they'll actually have as a teacher, which sometimes are high stakes and difficult conversations. In comes the AI solution. So for this one, it is ChatGPT. This is generative AI, something that many now are familiar with, and we called upon generative AI to help us meet this wish. So the solution has to do with simulating a parent conversation. Now, telling ChatGPT to take the form of a parent and have a conversation requires a really specific prompt. So on the side of your screen, you will see the actual scenario that we used with our teacher educators, and it took a while to draft this prompt. You'll notice that it's adolescent in nature, that there are elements bolded for the teacher candidate to personalize, including their name, the student's name, in this case, a content area if it's an adolescent, the parent's name, and these all lend to more detailed conversation. Are the teacher candidates referring to the student by name? Are the teacher candidates referring politely to the parent or guardian by name? We can tell a lot dispositionally about these conversations. So what we had teachers do was engage in an AI parent communication simulation, and that parent was going to exhibit one of 5 communication styles: argumentative, combative, amenable, unresponsive, over-involved. And then we were able to see how our teacher candidates would carry those conversations on. The whole thing took around 15 minutes. This allowed us some insight into how our teacher candidates would actually go about integrating some of the things that they were learning about how to have these conversations into an actual conversation. So we could look at the results, we could have them send results, we could have them talk about results with each other, but overall practice some of the things, reflect on what they may do differently in a specific situation, and even get instant feedback from AI when they did not know what the next appropriate thing to do in the conversation was. So let's move on to wish number 2. Wish number 2, classroom management experience. The wish is, I wish my teacher candidates could face real classroom challenges before stepping into their own classrooms and see the impact of their instructional decisions in real time. This is incredibly important and often a difficult thing to mimic in a teacher preparation program. Although we always have in New York our students in the field before even student teaching, practicing the skills, observing other expert master teachers, it sometimes isn't on the teacher candidate to manage that classroom. And that expectation of what do you do when is often a question that we get in preparing teachers. They see something in the field, they come to us and say, what would I do? I don't know what to do if. So the idea of having the ability for them to practice these scenarios in a safe environment. In comes our AI solution. There are several simulations for things like this, but the one that we used was the Agile Teacher Lab. So the Agile Teacher Lab specifically, I believe, is MIT related, and it's free currently. And it is a classroom simulation that allows teacher candidates to engage in a safe space where they can actually practice their responses to certain scenarios and how they would manage an inclusive environment. There have been different iterations of the teaching lab, and there are many different simulations out there, like SimSchool, that offer these scenario-based experiences where our students can practice on how they would engage and how they would respond and what they would do next. This provides them a bit more confidence moving into the field because they've actually been able to practice some of the scenarios that they've seen in the field. So a lot of the cooperating teachers will navigate certain scenarios, and our teacher candidates will come back with that scenario in mind and be able to practice how they may similarly or respond differently to that type of scenario. That brings us to wish number 3, models for differentiation. The wish is, I wish my teacher candidates could experience differentiated instruction in action. Now, this is a tough one because some of them do. Some of them have great placements and the teachers are differentiating all the time, and they're able to actually pinpoint those scenarios in real time and in reflection. But there are times that we can't control the scenario that or the classroom that our teacher candidates are in, which means they may not be seeing a ton of differentiated instruction, or they may not be able to notice it. So in comes our AI solution. This time it's Kunmingo. So this is an example of how things can be differentiated. So this goes away from the simulation-based AI solution. So Kunmingo is a tool, and our students are starting to use this platform to help them see how to actually differentiate material. So this is the practical back end. So not an observation of how it's done necessarily, but the ability to do it. So this tool, which you may recognize if you used before, provides personalized strategies to differentiate instruction based on things like student readiness, student interest, and their learning profile. So how they're actually going to learn best. You'll see in the middle of the image that's provided, there's a text leveler. So they can actually level different texts, changing the reading level of the text for their students based on their ability. Things like this allow our students to see what it's like on the back end for planning for differentiation. This also has resulted in their ability to actually identify differentiation in the field more frequently and better. So they're actually going into their placements and able to say, because I've done this and differentiate on the back end, I can now identify it. Wish number 4 is reflect pragmatically. And pragmatically is the key here. So the wish. I wish my teacher candidates could be a fly on the wall and see themselves teach to reflect more effectively on their instructional choices. This wish really was met in the past with video, right? Our teacher candidates were recorded. They would sit down. In New York, we had the EdTPA. They would review and really dissect their instruction. But this recording and watching often had a large gap in the middle, which means they didn't often get to see themselves reflect right away. And sometimes it was very tedious, meaning that watching the video and playing back and moving back and finding a location made it a very tedious process. Enter our AI solution, GoReact. So there are several technologies out there that'll allow videos to be uploaded and you can actually annotate and highlight and comment. And it's often used in placement settings, so student-teacher placement settings, so that they can be observed. Teacher candidates can be observed by other individuals. The nice thing is that GoReact also has an AI-powered solution. So teachers can record themselves teaching, upload it, and actually get instant feedback related to time-stamped positions in their video when they're using communication skills. Things like the wording, the pacing, the clarity, all of these things can be time-stamped and pointed out by the AI tool. And it also automatically generates highlights, so specific moments where specific behaviors occur. These can be reviewed by the student and really reflected upon. This is really nice because they can do it more than just when they're being observed formally or informally. They can do it themselves. So they can record and practice and get some feedback to really refine their skills. What's interesting is they can also think that they're doing something like differentiating or like being clear or loud, and they can reflect on whether it's actually being identified as that. Wish number 5, visualize success. Now, we often hear about visualization in sports and in life, and we would like our teacher candidates to visualize themselves having success as well. So I wish my teacher candidates could visualize their ideal classroom and bring it to life. Okay, so now we've switched to learning environment. What's very interesting about the learning environment is a lot of times our teacher candidates will use what they've had and what they recall in their own experience to think about what a learning environment should be. And then they will learn about things like accessibility and best practice. And they start in their head to have to construct what that learning environment should look like. What should be on the walls? Where should things be placed? What kind of desks do they want for what scenarios? To see something like that, not just in your head, but come to life would be really beneficial. So in comes our AI-powered solution. For this, we simply used Canva Image Generator. And really, we left it up to the students to use a ton of different options for image generators. And some are really specific to classroom development generators, where you can input specific things and it will give you a classroom output. But we found the Canva image generator, when the prompt was specific enough, did a great job. So what we had students do was develop their ideal classrooms, or what they thought to be their ideal classrooms. So they would use the tool to consider things like door placement and desk placement and what technology they wanted, where the computers would go if there were computers. Did they want any plants or nature? Where were the windows? What boards did they want? Is there a pencil sharpener anymore? Are there any physical books in the classroom? So we had our students think through the environment that they wanted to create. And at the same time, we're talking about the importance of environment, things from lighting, and how, as a teacher, you often have control of that environment. And then we also discussed things that you may not have control over, if you're sharing a space, if you're moving classrooms, if things are stationary, and how to navigate that type of environment. This is often a great creative exercise for our students, and they love to compare their classrooms and look at other classrooms and go, oh my gosh, I didn't think of any aspects of nature, or I forgot about what I would actually put on the wall and how important that is, and what the students are seeing and the colors. It allows them to have that conversation, knowing that they may not have access to everything that's in their ideal classroom, but that they have an image of what they would do, what it would look like, and how that would be beneficial to students. We also at this time have the conversation of accessibility. And again, they actually have something to look at physically that they've created and developed. And then we can talk about aspects of accessibility, and they can arrange and adjust their image as needed. That brings us to wish 6. Quickly develop materials. So oftentimes we talk about students getting in the weeds when it comes to this wish. So the wish is, I wish my teacher candidates could curate high quality instructional materials, HQIM, quickly, to spend time focusing on instructional best practices. So, like I mentioned, we talk about students getting lost in the weeds, which is they might be focusing on an exit ticket or a game, a Jeopardy board, or a worksheet or an activity or materials, and they'll get lost in the weeds developing these, which sometimes is great for the creative process, but often can distract from the idea of the how. How am I going to implement this? What do I have to make sure I do if I want this to be effective, this activity or this assignment? So in comes our AI-powered solution. We use Magic School AI for this one. There's also School AI. Kunmingo works for this as well, but we used Magic School AI. So our students were able to create Magic School AI accounts, and they were able to quickly curate high quality materials. So they got to see how fast they can generate a presentation or a worksheet, um, and really then spend time refining it to making it their own, what they really want it to be, never just taking it as is. And then thinking about, how am I going to implement this? What would it look like? What is best? What do I know about my students? Should I go on further to differentiate these materials? These materials are standards aligned, so they can actually align them to the standards and not spend time trying to do that themselves. It goes through assessments and activities and even does some jokes sometimes. So there's a great deal of capability within these AI powered materials. And again, it shifts the focus. So they're still editing these materials when they come out. We're still looking for how they're aligned with the standards, right? So what do we know about this material that makes it a high quality instructional material? So we still have those conversations, but then we are able to shift our conversation into best practice for instruction and not focus so much on the development of that material. That brings us to wish 7. Defensible decisions. So the wish is, I wish my teacher candidates could practice making defensible decisions, data-informed instructional decisions using student data. So this is often a struggle sometimes for our teacher candidates who aren't so numbers or math inclined, right? We have assessment courses, we talk about data and the importance of data, um, but we really want to stress the importance of defensible decisions and using the data to make instructional decisions. So that assessment cycle. Sometimes it is difficult in a teacher prep program to have current data or to have student data that really represents what students are seeing in the field. So, depending on their placement, they may see reading difficulties, math struggles. So, we try to allow them to say, okay, what do you see in the field, right? What are you doing right now? What is a unit, right? What is something maybe you just completed? And what was the assessment? And then to develop mock data for that assessment. And we'll say, okay, now you have in your head a real classroom, real kids. Let's say that these are the results. So for our AI powered solution, we're using Claude, which is a little bit more data inclined, but still a generative AI, much like ChatGPT. We have our students actually input a prompt related to their placement and where they are and how many students they have and what they're doing, some of the proficiency levels that they have within the classroom. We give them a structure of the prompt, but again, they get to personalize it. And then we have student data actually created. So you'll see the student data on the side with the name, the reading level, the math proficiency, and even attendance, right? We can put this data side by side, much like they'll be doing in the field to see any trends or what may be impacting it. And now, if we think back to Wish One, which had to do with parent conversations, they're able to actually reference some of this data in their parent conversation, suggesting potentially maybe attendance is playing a role, and then what can we do about that? So they're starting to make these connections when they have this information in front of them. So they use Claude to generate this output of student data, and then we start analyzing the trends, identifying any learning gaps that may be within this data, and then justifying instructional decisions. So trends, gaps, and decisions are what we look at. And again, it's based off what's seemingly real student data or simulated student data that in their head they're relating to the classroom that they're currently in. So they have some context for it. That brings us to our last wish, which is wish 8, long-term goal setting. So what is the wish? So now it's shifting to what I can do. I wish I could help my teacher candidates revisit professional goals throughout their journey. We certainly have always had our students think about long term goals, right? What they want, where do they want to be, how are they going to reach those goals? We have really pushed reflection. But I wish that we could revisit those goals with them at a certain point in their journey, long after they're gone and not in our classes anymore, not in our program anymore. We want to be in connection with them past the time that they leave for graduation when they're in the field. In comes our AI powered solution. In this case, it's a platform called Future Me. So, Future Me allows letters to yourself in the future. So, what we had our teacher candidates do was engage in an AI experience where they're developing a letter, right? And we actually get to draft what they're going to talk about. You'll see that they're going to begin by, being kind of themselves, reflecting on personal growth, but talking about being a good person. We have them talk about being a reflective practitioner. We have them talk about goals they've already met. We have them goal set in a year's time, where they want to be, what they want to do, what they hope for, and then this letter They can include a picture, a selfie, a file, anything that they would like. This letter is going to get sent to them in a year's time. So they put their email address in. We always have them use their personal email addresses because they may be out of the program at that time. And it gets sent to them so they can actually reflect on goals that they set a year ago. So why does this matter? Well, the significant impact of AI in the K-12 realm is evident now, and it certainly is within the higher education realm as well. But it's necessary for our programs to recognize the need for our teachers to be able to navigate AI-powered tools in the classroom and certainly be able to help their students with it. And we need to prepare them for that, which means we have to integrate AI tools into their preparation experience. Future teachers have to understand that they're going to encounter AI tools. So, helping them even troubleshoot and navigate and become familiar with the privacies, the student protections, how students should and should not potentially use AI, what are policies within schools and districts. All of this exposure starts in preparation programs. So, that's where the conversation starts. And then things to consider. We really have to remember that AI isn't perfect. The solutions presented here certainly took crafting and took trial and error and aren't perfect themselves, but they have been found to foster skills that potentially were even lacking in teacher candidates beforehand and really fill in some of the learning gaps that we ourselves as teacher educators identified using data. So we know that AI isn't perfect. It really has to be implemented when individuals are understanding of the technical and ethical use of the tools that they're looking to integrate. You have to be able to monitor your bias, especially in prompt generation. So whatever you are inputting, it is going to use that. So how can you monitor your own bias? And then certainly providing faculty support. So this doesn't just mean training, but it also means the intellectual support of being able to talk through the potential of AI being a solution to a challenge that they're having. So again, I ask you to take a second and reflect on your own courses. What are some wishes that you have in those courses specifically? What do you wish you could do that you think would really benefit your students? What would you love for your students to experience before they actually become a teacher? Sometimes those experiences aren't even related to the classroom setting or the student experience, but really their colleagues or their peers or a meeting or a PLC. What do I want them to experience? How can I use AI to achieve that? Okay. So thank you very much. I look forward to any and all questions and conversation related to AI integration. So feel free to reach out.